Hey my friends, I thought I'd let you know why I like my Paccar MX13. I know it's got a bad rap. Everyone I talk to tells me, oh, those are no good. You'll have all sorts of problems. You have to take the motors out to do any work on them and blah, blah, blah. Well, you know what? I'll tell you how it compares to my ISX15 that I had. I got this MX13 back in February and I put 80,000 miles on it now. And of course, the first thing I noticed when I started up was it didn't shake like the old Cummins ISX15 I had. Smooth running motor. But anyway, the biggest thing probably about it is that I don't constantly have trouble lights coming up on it. I do have an OTR reset tool. I used it a lot on my Cummins and I've had to use it a couple of times on my MX13, Paccar MX13. Biggest problem, or biggest thing I've noticed between the two is I like to, when it comes to doing fuel mileage trials, I go by IFTA, my quarterly IFTA things. That's all miles and all gallons going in. Third quarter 23 for my ISX15, I had 6.2 miles to the gallon. I run I run meat out of Iowa into Los Angeles, usually Vernon area, then come back out with usually frozen -10 loads into Chicago, then deadhead back home. But so anyway, most of the time it's fully loaded. So anyway, third quarter for IFTA for 23 on that was 6.2 miles to the gallon. My third quarter results for 24 with the MX13 was 7.3. That comes out to, if I took that and brought it for the full year at that kind of difference, I'd have 7,800 at say $3.50 per gallon for diesel. I'd come out with, got it written down here, for 100,000 miles in a year, that would be $7,840 down there. So, you know, people are always complaining about the Paccar that you have to take it out and have it taken to the Paccar deal, the Peterbilt or Kenworth dealer. But you know, $7,800, that can pay for the engine to come out a couple of times a year. But anyway, the reason why it's a backwards motor and it has to be taken out for work on the either taking the cams out or working on the timing gear, bowl gears, timing gears, that sort of things, is it was developed in Europe like in 2005 Paccar developed it for the DAC motor, for the DAC truck in Europe. And just like the Mack and Volvo, they're made for cab overs. So they, you know, in Europe, they flip the cab up and it's just simple to take the cams out, work on the gears in the back there. Unfortunately, we're in a different situation here in the United States where we got a nose on the front and the motor's in front of us. So we have to take the motor out. They started using the Paccar motor, the MX13, here in the United States in 2010. Problem was the dealers didn't quite know, nobody quite knew how to do it. A new motor, you know, it's hard for mechanics to, they want to have something simple that they've worked on their whole lives. So now we're into 2025, they've had this motor around for 15 years now. If you've got a mechanic that can't work on it, you probably shouldn't have him as a mechanic anyway. He needs to get with the system, needs to go back to school if he's too stupid to work on motor that's been here in the United States for 15 years. Other problem is it's got proprietary software in it, and the subscription is a little more than most small shops want to deal with. But anyway, you know, these Paccar dealers, Kenworth and Peterbilt dealers, most of them have the newer shops, and you go in them and look at them, and they have the I-beams going all through their shops, so that it's easy for them to take the motors in and out. I can't imagine that it would take more than 10 hours to remove and replace a motor, and that's, well, $175 an hour, say $1,700, $2,000 at most to pull a motor, turn it so they can get to work on those things. So, you know, how many times a year do you think you're going to have that motor pulled? I doubt more than once every couple of years. Anyway, I've got 80,000 miles on my truck now, and I'm sorry, I bought it with 403,000. I've got 486,000 on it now. I've had very little trouble. The biggest thing I think is, you know, the Paccar dealer wants you to think that, you know, they say you can go 75,000 miles between oil changes. I did 45,000 on my first one, and oil sample came back, and the guy suggested, well, maybe you should bring it down to 35,000. That's what most people are, what we're finding out works best on it. Also, fuel filters. You know, don't try to get 50,000 miles on a fuel filter. I did that on the fuel filters, and of course it plugged up in the summertime. And the thing is, and I think this probably, if you went 50,000 miles on a fuel filter in Cummins, probably the same thing would happen. But the problem is it tries to do a regen when it's got that low pressure because of the fuel filter plugging. And the diesel injector, the one that's, you know, most people only think there's a DEF injector. There's also, they call it the seventh injector, the injector that injects diesel during the regen right after the turbocharger. There's not enough pressure to get the spray right. So what will happen is you'll get a warning light, your DOC and your emission system will clog up, and it'll probably, like me, it'll probably come up and derate. But if you've got an OTR tool, all you have to do, if it derates, all you have to do is go to the side of the road, take a 45-minute regen, and be on your way to the truck stop and get the fuel filter replaced. I also have had trouble going 30,000 in the winter. I would suggest, and from this point on, I'm just going to change my fuel filters at least the primary fuel filter, the water fuel separator, replace that every 20,000 miles in between my 35,000 oil change. Probably find that works a lot better, but I've had a lot less trouble lights come on. I've had to reset with the OTR, but every time I've had a problem with it, and I've really gotten to like those OTR reset tools. If a lot of times they offer the software for free. It plugs right into your OBD system, I think it's a 9-pin, right underneath your ignition key. But there's a $600 yearly subscription fee to it, and you know, it sure saves a tow truck ride into the dealer, or even just, you know, a service charge. I think it's probably $175, $200 to have regen done on them. But if you have the OTR tool, you do it on your timetable right on the side of the road there and get going. But so just thought I'd let you guys know what I think of my Paccar. A lot quieter motor. You know, you can listen to the old time guys, the old school guys that, oh, you can't, it's going to cause you all sorts of trouble. And, you know, the first 5-10 years they were here, I'll admit, they had trouble. Nobody knew how to work on them. But now these newer mechanics, when they went to school, that's what they learned on. So I think you guys ought to, you know, the people who run spreadsheets, oh, it's $300, 300 pounds lighter. And think of the number of times you've had to run with a half tank of fuel, fill your truck up to half a tank because you were too heavy on your drives and steers. That 300 pounds there could have given you another, well, 7 pounds to the gallon. So, you know, another 50 gallons you could have put on there with no problem. But, so, you know, I really like that motor. Maybe, and I think most guys that run a spreadsheet like those Paccars over the Cummins. But I guess my old favorite, I gotta say, my old favorite motor was the 8V92 Detroit back in 1980, back when I had my double sleeper Freightliner. But, you know, those days are gone. I only got 4 miles to the gallon. And another thing is, if you're pulling heavy loads all the time and running 75 miles an hour, you probably better stick with that ISX. But if you're running slower speeds, I normally try to only run 65. I actually run fast, about 5 miles faster than I did in my ISX 15, just because it's just so smooth. But I think that if you do a lot of deadheading, especially, you'll find that MX13. I notice myself, it gets fantastic mileage when I'm deadheading. Just because it's a smaller motor, less friction. I'm also running 264 gears. My Kenworth I had with the ISX 15, I ran 308s. It came with, I think it was 354s, 356s, and I swapped them out. I'm into lower friction, better fuel mileage. I'd like to run lower speeds. Lately, I've been having to run a lot of 75 just because you know, picking up a load in Vernon, and they want it their third morning in Chicago. And, you know, so I got to step on it to be legal. Run 70, 75 all the time to get so that my hours of service are right. Anyway, you guys have a great day. You know, I know people will hate me for saying I like the Paccar, but just thought I'd let you know my experiences. So you guys have a good day. Do with this what you want. God bless you. You have a great day. Bye.